Let me ask a very simple question. I'll start with you, Joe. What do men want?
What do we want?
What do men want?
I want a praise singer.
You want a praise singer?
Nah, not really. No, I want a partner. I want a partner, not in terms of. I want a partner, somebody who will share everything with, in terms of my life, my money, share both of us our money. And
your life, your money, share both. You know, when you said your money, I was smiling inside. Oh, a generous man. And you said both of us our money. You want to share her money too?
Oh, why should you share only my money? We should share our money. We are partners. We're not. I'm not. Unless you want me to be the dominant partner. Well, you said I'm Ghanaian. I come from a matrilineal family,
right?
Which means that we look up to the woman. My family is from my mother, not from my father. So I want to share stuff with I want my wife to share stuff with me.
I don't believe that men want women to be partners with them, no matter how seemingly Western they might seem in, you know, and even Ghanaian culture, I mean, which is matrilineal, as you said. Yeah. Is it natural for men to accept that women should be, you know, heads of the community or home, or so on and so forth?
It is very natural. What's wrong? I'm from Ghana. Women are heads of I grew up in a family where my father was the nominal head, but my mother was really the real power, the de facto head, and that's what
men are always saying. That, I mean, don't give us that, please, Joe. They always say that. Oh, the man is the head, but the woman is the one really pressing the buttons. This is what we say around here. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Where I grew up, not only was she pressing the buttons, she carried the economic power. And
let me try and put that in perspective a bit. I think that essentially what we've seen is how traditionally we've evolved into this sort of urban sense of who we are as modern men and women, and trying to negotiate our way through these issues. My understanding, I read a book on Ibadan history, and clearly in the 18th and 19th century in Ibadan, as Ibadan was evolving as a republican city-state, clearly the role of women in that process was very powerful. And women had got to a point where, because of economic power, as Joe said, that they had become an important fulcrum around which men negotiated. And in a sense, a lot has changed, because when you look at the way markets all across Africa function, most markets, whether it's in Lomé or Accra or Nairobi, most markets are run and the power is held by women. And this issue is rather one of economic power that is a leverage to determine the control, or who has the dominant control in a relationship. So let's take away from the urban professional mindset and what you call it for a minute, because really that is a smaller percentage of what is functioning Africa today. So whether on the farm or whether in the marketplace, you find that women play those traditional roles and effortlessly negotiate those processes. I think the problem lies with us now as sort of modern functioning individuals, where because of the nature of corporate society, men have taken the ascendancy. But that's not going to last for long anyway, because women are the ones in numbers who are getting better educated all across the continent. If you go into any sort of institution of higher learning and you look at the ratios, percentage men to women, you will find that women are the ones who are spending more time in school, coming out with degrees. So in the future, women are going to evolve and rise up in corporate society as well. So what then happens, what is going to be interesting, is how women then in that environment negotiate their economic power with men. So again, that's where I think the dysfunction lies, within the traditional sense of what women represent and the modern sense today of this sense of who holds this power and how is this power negotiated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see you think...
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I know that, you know, he just spoke about history now. I know that at one time across Africa, women ruled, even in Nigeria here, and some of the Yoruba tribes, women ruled, they did business. They had slaves. The Dahomey women would come and they'd raid and take men slaves from Abeokuta and places like that. They'd enter the interior of, you know, the Yoruba kingdom. And so they were strong, they were able, and they weren't I don't think discrimination, like we look at it now, was something that was rife in those days. Somewhere along the line, like Obinna just told us now, there's been a shift. There's been a shift for some reason.
So are you saying to me that in our history, there was never the weak... I don't know how... There's this stereotype of women as staying at home and nursing the children, and that's in
Africa, I don't think... in African history, we should check African history. In African history, I think what we have is a record of women being strong. You know, it runs throughout. It runs from Egypt to... It runs everywhere. You know?
But back to where we started from, what Joe said. If... there would be people who would be arguing from here to Golgotha and say that, you know, African women... although I don't recall that African woman. I keep saying I don't recall that African woman who was like the Victorian woman, as they say.
Yeah.
I don't recall from my past if women were ever like that in Africa. However, do African men want women as partners?
I'm not sure they had a problem with them at one time. I'm not sure they had a problem with women sitting. Now, I should get literal here. I think that, you see, in council, women are more dangerous than men. You know, in council.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, a woman, if we sit here and we're deliberating, women don't use sentiment, no matter how many of them you see in churches. You know, to protect her own, she will go to any length. You know, and I got that from a Rudyard Kipling poem. You know, women, the female of the species, is more dangerous than the male. You know, and so maybe that might be the reason women have been, men are wary of having women around when they do business now, in any form. I think that what men want, my opinion, is dignity. That's my opinion. Well, I think most men want dignity. They want. Africa is a hard place in quote, and I'm talking about the African man now. He wants a right. He wants to be respected. He wants to be given respect by the governments in place, by the society, by family. Dignity, my opinion.
I just want to take up on what he said and talk about the crisis that African men are undergoing across the continent in relation to their roles around the world. Now, you must recognize in the last 30 to 40 years, we've seen the evolution of information to a point where it is clear that we can no longer hide under any rocks about how we have failed ourselves on a continent-wide level.